China says drills near Taiwan target arrogance of separatists. Putin orders government to stabilize retail fuel prices. Kenya and U.S. sign defense agreement ahead planned Haiti deployment. Belarus FM can't imagine his nation entering the war in Ukraine. Trump and company liable for fraud in New York lawsuit. Joe Biden makes history by joining UAW picket line. Shakira accused of tax crimes for the second time. TikTok's e-commerce faces new regulatory obstacles.
Hello, I'm Johnny. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It's Thursday, September 28th, and here are your top stories. China said on Wednesday that its recent series of drills near Taiwan aimed at combating the arrogance of separatist forces. Taiwan has said this month that it had observed dozens of fighters, drones, bombers, and other aircraft, as well as warships and the Chinese aircraft carrier Shandong, operating nearby. The spokeswoman of China's Taiwan Affairs Office, Zhu Fanglian, said the purpose is to resolutely combat the arrogance of Taiwan independent separatist forces.
On Wednesday, Taiwan's defense ministry reported further Chinese military movements, saying it had detected and responded to 16 Chinese aircraft entering the island's air defense identification zone over the prior 24 hours. Of those, 12 crossed the median line of the Taiwan Strait, which had served as an unofficial barrier between the two sides until China began regularly crossing it in August last year. In an unusual announcement last week, Taiwan's defense ministry said it was monitoring China's drills in the southern province of Fujian.
Russian President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday ordered his government to make sure retail fuel prices stabilize and urged additional measures to balance the domestic market following the instruction of a ban on gasoline and diesel exports. Russian domestic fuel prices initially eased, but began to creep up again after an easing of the restrictions was announced over the weekend. The Kremlin has said the export ban will remain in place for as long as needed to stabilize the domestic market.
Russia has suffered shortages of gasoline and diesel in recent months. Wholesale fuel prices have spiked recently even though retail prices are capped to try and keep them in line with the official rate of inflation. On Thursday, the Russian government introduced a temporary ban on exports of gasoline and diesel to all countries beyond 4 ex-Soviet states to try to stem an increase in domestic fuel prices. The impact on refined product supplies bolstered global oil prices, which rose to their highest since last November.
Kenya and the U.S. signed a defense agreement on Monday that will see the East African nation get resources and support for security deployments as it is poised to lead a multinational peacekeeping mission to Haiti to combat gang violence. Kenya's Defense Minister Aden Duale and U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin signed the accord at a meeting in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. The agreement guides the country's defense relations for the next 5 years as the war in East Africa against the al-Qaeda-linked al-Shabaab extremist group intensifies.
Austin thanked Kenya for volunteering to take the leadership of the Haiti multinational force and reiterated that the U.S. government would work with Congress to secure the $100 million in funding that it pledged on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly. Duale said his country is ready to deploy to Haiti and cited Kenya's very long history of global peacekeeping in Kosovo, neighboring Somalia and Congo. Kenya in August pledged to send 1,000 security officers to Haiti to combat gang violence.
The foreign minister of Belarus, which has a strategic partnership with Russia, says he cannot envision a situation where his country would enter the war in Ukraine alongside Russian forces. Sergei Alenik said in an interview with the Associated Press that he also can't imagine a situation where Russia would order his country to use the tactical nuclear weapons it recently deployed in Belarus. He said of the missiles, "I don't see such an option because it is an instrument of defense primarily."
But he added if Belarus was invaded, "I will not exclude any instruments to be used to defend the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our country." Alenik said the stationing of tactical nuclear missiles in Belarus is a response to the very big militarization along its western border. He said, for example, the Polish military is planning to double its armed forces and bring more heavy weapons to the border, backed by a growing presence of U.S. and other NATO forces.
A judge on Tuesday ruled that former President Donald Trump and his company are liable for fraud in valuing real estate properties as alleged in a lawsuit by the New York Attorney General's office. Judge Arthur Engoron, in his scathing decision, canceled the New York business certificates of Trump, the Trump Organization, and the other defendants in the Manhattan Supreme Court lawsuit, which includes two of his adult sons. The judge said he will appoint an independent receiver to manage the dissolution of the corporations.
CNBC said it is not clear whether Engoron's decision means that the Trump Organization and related entities will have to completely cease doing business in New York. Judge Engoron found that Trump had made false and misleading valuations for multiple real estate assets in statements to insurers and banks for years. According to the decision, because of those misstatements, Trump inflated his true net worth in annual financial statements by billions of dollars.
U.S. President Joe Biden has backed striking car workers in Michigan during a visit to their picket line, which is a first for a sitting U.S. president. Biden said that the workers deserve raises and other concessions they are seeking. Some workers said they hoped the attention from President Biden and his rival would help their cause, but others dismissed the visits as political stunts aimed at getting votes, which would have little practical impact on the negotiations. Donald Trump is due to arrive later.
Earlier in September, the UAW declared a strike targeting Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, pushing the three major car companies for better pay and conditions. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters on Tuesday that the White House was not part of the negotiations. Biden's presence in Michigan is instead intended to show support to the car workers. She added the president believes that the men and women of the UAW deserve a fair share of the record profits they've helped to create.
Colombian pop star Shakira has been charged with tax evasion for the second time by the Spanish government. Prosecutors in Spain allege the singer defrauded the state of 6.7 million euros in 2018. They say this happened when she failed to declare millions in advance payments for her El Dorado World Tour, among other payments. Spanish prosecutors opened the second investigation in July 2023, but released the details on Tuesday. Spanish network RTVE says the 46-year-old singer is aware of the new charges.
The new charges hinge on the fact that in 2018, Shakira was living in Barcelona with football star Gerard Piqué and was therefore required to tax all her international revenue there. They argue that she instead diverted her money to companies domiciled in countries with low taxation and high opacity. Shakira faces trial over 6 separate alleged tax crimes, all of which she denies, in Barcelona this November. In that case, she has been accused of failing to pay 14.5 million euros, $15.3 million, in tax between 2012 and 2014.
TikTok's ambition to expand in online shopping is facing a major blow from new rules in Indonesia that are set to curb its operations in its biggest e-commerce market. Indonesia Trade Minister Zulkifli Hasan said on Monday that the country is prohibiting social media companies from facilitating direct e-commerce payments on their platforms. It means companies will only be able to advertise products but not conduct direct transactions on the social media platform.
The rule is part of newly tightened trade regulations. The policy seeks to keep Indonesia's 64.2 million micro, small and medium enterprises that contribute 61% of its gross domestic product from being squeezed out by social commerce companies. Currently, TikTok is the only social media company that allows direct e-commerce transactions on its platform. With the new rule, Indonesia will be the first among countries in Southeast Asia to push back against TikTok.
The answer for yesterday was C, acceleration. The engine delivers instant acceleration whatever the rush. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of TikTok's e-commerce facing new regulatory obstacles. Number 1, prohibit. 阻止是不可能. The high cost of equipment prohibits many people from taking up this sport. Number 2, facilitate. 促进使便利，促使. Structured teaching facilitates learning. Number 3, transaction. 一笔交易，业务，买卖. They were uncertain of the total value of the transaction. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comment section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Johnny Wu, your host. I'll see you next time.